Are you looking for the easiest side dish ever? Whether you're making a great big Thanksgiving dinner or you're just serving something for Tuesday night, having a side dish can be such a hassle, but I find it's the secret star of this show. So finding a recipe that's both easy and delicious, that is the real bonus. That's the real secret to, enjoying the cook and also enjoying the meal. So today I'm going to be sharing with you my vegan stuffing recipe. It's only 5 ingredients and it's so easy to make. It's delicious and everybody loves it. Um, you know, I spent a lot of time with my mom, and my mom, when she would make the dinner, would spend so much time on it that she ended up, she was cooking for hours, making everything from scratch, and she ended up not really enjoying the dinner very much. I don't know. I'm sure you've been there before. You get so exhausted that you really can't enjoy it. So that's why I think it's a good idea to have some side dishes that are easy to make. So stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite hacks. One would be how some add-ins that can make this really a delicious dish, and also just a couple of different ways to serve it. So I'm going to put this aside and we're going to talk about the ingredients. But first of all, hi, I'm Marley. I'm with the site Namely Marley. I love making plant-based recipes and sharing them with you, and the kitchen is my happy place, so having you here with me makes it even happier. So let's talk about the ingredients involved in making this recipe. It starts with this is 1/4 cup of vegan butter, and we're going to put this into, I've softened it a little bit just to make it easier to get it to melt more quickly. I'm going to put this in a saucepan and we're going to cook it to get it to melt a little bit. And to that, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of chopped onions. Now you can push this up to all the way up to a cup of onions. I just find a 1/2 cup works really well. You want to have the right balance between, I think, the onion flavor, the onion texture, and not having it in every single, just having it too much of it can be a problem. And here I've got 3/4 cup of chopped celery. I find celery combined with onions is this is the perfect stuffing flavor and smell. The aroma of these two cooking together in your kitchen, I'm telling you, it's going to smell like Thanksgiving when you get that going. And another ingredient I've got is some vegetable broth. Now, I've heated this up because I want it to come to a boil really quickly. But what I wanted to share with you some of my favorite tips on vegetable broth, because I have discovered that not all vegetable broth is the same. I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but some vegetable broths are not that good. And I did not like the inconsistency between sometimes you'd get a good batch and sometimes you didn't. So what I decided to do is just start making my own. And when I say making my own, I'm not talking about from scratch. I'm talking about I use bouillon. And I have a couple of favorites here. This not chicken. Is that how it says? Yeah, it's not. I'm reading it upside down. So yeah, not chicken is delicious. It's got a lot of poultry seasonings in there, so it has a nice chicken flavor. And the other one is this garden veggie, and I like it because it's low sodium. So I just put a couple of those cubes in with some water, and that creates a delicious broth. And I love it because I know what to expect every single time. And sometimes you really want to have your vegetable broth with lower sodium. Maybe you have some reasons that you want lower sodium, but I find this mixture, the vegan butter has some sodium, and the mixture that we're going to add together, it all has sodium. So I think I like mixing the vegetable broth that has a little bit less sodium in it with the other one that does. So normally I'd let this cook a little bit longer. I'd like to let these onions get tender and like the celery to get tender. But for the purposes of our demonstration, we're just going to keep going. So I'm going to pour this broth in here. Like I said, I got it nice and hot already, so that way it would come to a boil quicker. Because what we'd like is for this to get nice and hot and come to a boil, and then you're ready to add the next step, which is what we're going to be adding is cornbread stuffing mix. And there are several options. You may be wondering, like, which ones of these are vegan? And so I'm going to show you one. Believe it or not, Pepperidge Farm cornbread stuffing mix is vegan. And when I say vegan, it's made, without eggs or dairy. And it's one of my favorites because the flavor of it is great. They do a good job. You can see that the ingredients are really dry. Like I said before, my mom would make her cornbread from scratch. And if you want to do that, that's fine. Oh, but make sure you use a low sugar cornbread. So even if you're making your cornbread from scratch, just reduce the amount of sugar in it because you don't want your cornbread to be sweet. So, like for example, some of those pre-mixed cornbread mixes, I mean, they almost taste like a cake. They're so sweet. I don't think those work at all in a cornbread stuffing. So you'd want to make your cornbread from scratch and then just reduce the sugar content. But that's one thing I like about this cornbread mix. It's already done. But then the other trick is you got to have everything dry. So whether you're using bread or cornbread, once you get it baked, you got to put it in the oven and toast it and make sure that it's all completely dried out. Because if you don't, the thing about stuffing is it can turn into mush if it's too moist. So that's one thing I love about using a cornbread mix. It keeps it very simple. You may be wondering, can I make this whole thing gluten-free? And I have some good news for you because Arrowhead Mills has a very similar stuffing mix that's also vegan and gluten-free. So I find that typically at Sprouts. I think I've also seen that at natural grocers and stores like that. So I think it's easy to find. For sure, you can find it online. So I think if you plan ahead a little bit, you can make this work. So when this mixture is boiling, then it's nice and hot already because I've already preheated it in the microwave. So I'm going to pour this stuffing mixture in here. Let's just do this without making a mess. And the goal here is to just give it a good stir. We're trying to incorporate the moisture, the gravy, the sauce in with all this delicious cornbread. We want it all mixed together. And once you get this all mixed together, then you can remove it from the heat. Now, I promised you to talk about a couple of add-ins, and I'm going to do that. So we're going to talk about that right now. So some of the add-ins that you could add at this point would be, I think, chopping up an apple and adding that into this mixture is delicious. The combination of the sweet and the salty, it's so good together. Another thing is dried cranberries, adds pops of color, which is beautiful. You could add some chopped nuts, like walnuts would be delicious in here. So those are all really good options. I also promised you 2 different ways to serve it because guess what? You could serve this right now. You don't have to do another thing. People could just come along and you maybe transfer it to a serving dish if you'd like to make it look nice, but people could just come along and just grab a spoonful of this and put it on their plate. It's delicious. But I like to take it to the next level because what I like, as you can see from where I baked this, I like these golden crispy edges that comes when you bake it. So I've preheated the oven to 350 and I'm going to show you that I've got another baking dish and I have put a little bit of vegetable oil in here so that it won't stick to the sides. So what we'll do then is we're just going to transfer this to the baking dish. And there we go. I'll put that over there. And I give it a little stir because sometimes maybe not all the ingredients are incorporated the way you want them to be. And the other thing is I like to make sure I have some crispy edges on the top. It just seems like to me, the more you can kind of fluff this up a little bit, then all of this stuff turns into crispy edges that once you bake it. So I have the oven preheated to 350 and now we're going to put this in the oven and let it bake for around 30 minutes or so. I'm going to set the timer. You know that I have to do this because if I don't set the timer, I will forget. And so let me get this dish over here. And that is basically this dish. This is done. And the other thing I really love is you can make this the day ahead and just put this in the refrigerator. I like to cover it tightly and then just the day of your big meal. You could actually make this a couple of days ahead. I actually think the flavors get better as it sits. So make this a couple of days ahead and then put it in the fridge, let it sit. Then when you're ready to serve, you can just put it in the oven for, probably 20 minutes or so, let it heat up and it's ready. Talk about the easiest side dish ever. I think this is it. So I just wanted to just answer any questions that you might have going into this. For example, does this make good leftovers? Absolutely. You just store it if you have leftovers, just store, cover it, store it in the fridge, and you can enjoy it for days to come. And like I mentioned before, it's also great as a make ahead dish. So now we're on to my favorite part at anytime I'm in the kitchen, which is the taste test. So let's go for this. I'm just going to eat right out of the dish. I might just call this Marley's stuffing, and then the one that's in the fridge or in the oven, I'll share with everybody else. This is mine. So there's that bite. Look at that, those golden edges on top. This is also really good served with some vegan turkey and stuffing or dressing, a little bit of, I'm saying dressing and stuffing at the same time. Some gravy drizzled over the top. So good. Oh, that is perfect because I'm going to get another spoonful out of here so you can see this. At the bottom, you've got that, it's rich and dense, and at the top, you've got those crunchy morsels from being baked. It's the perfect bite. This is the perfect bite, and it's the perfect side dish. So I'm so glad that you joined me today so you can learn how to make it with me. And I would love to hear from you. What is your favorite side dish that you like to serve at Thanksgiving? Leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed today's video, I would love if you give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more recipes coming your way every week. Now, it's time for bite number 2. mm. Mm.